on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Burr 77 coming to you live with another super Saturday of college hoops. We got 145 games tipping off at noon tomorrow, and we are coming in hot. We're going to start with a little recap of how we did during the week, and it was kind of tough. We got Drake -7.5. They handled their business down there at ISU, kind of like we thought they would. Redbirds didn't really stand a chance. SIU money line, man, what a brutal beat that was. SIU was up 23 at one point, and then kind of exactly what I had said would be the problem if Bradley wins this game. They ran off 4 unanswered threes. They took the lead for the only time during the game in the 50-something second to close out the second half, and they shot a season high from the free throw line. So that is unfortunate. Salukis, you got to be better in your own gym. You're up 23 points, so you got to close out that game. Vatech, Virginia, it was a little bit slower than I would have liked in the first quarter. In the first half. The second half would have been great if they could have done that twice. We took the over 123.5. I said it opened at 122.5. That was a very sharp line because the game ended exactly at 122. Look, it was a slow play, rock fight, just kind of everything I expected it to be. I just thought there was one more bucket in this game. I'm not going to get mad about being off by 1.5 points, because if you had the stones to take the under in this game, good for you. I mean, big ups to you, because that is a low number. So Miami, I don't know what to say here. Florida State apparently just runs Florida. The U have struggled with Florida State. I thought they were going to turn it around, especially in their own building, especially in this in-state rivalry game, and they just didn't have an answer for them. Florida State continues to dominate that rivalry. We'll see. They're going to play again. Miami's going to have to go on the road and go to Tallahassee and play FSU, so we'll see what happens there. Nebraska, another absolutely brutal beat. And I'm getting a little sick of saying it. We had a lot of road dogs that we backed the last couple, going back to last Saturday for the last week. I'd say we had 5 road dogs who had somebody make a mental mistake in the final 30 seconds of regulation, and then the game goes to overtime. And unfortunately, overtime is just where dogs go to die. As a dog, you're probably having some foul trouble. You probably were up a majority of the game or made a comeback, and it's just really hard, especially on the road, to rally yourself and get through that last 5 minutes of overtime. That was Nebraska's issue. They had a bunch of guys fall out. I was really hoping they wouldn't even force the overtime with that 3 there so we could get the push and keep it moving. But, hey, what are you going to do? It happens. We go over to the record. Wednesday's show totals 1-4. Again, we were 3 baskets away from going 4-1. So I'm not going to get super mad about that. Yes, I know, like, everybody wants to win. I want to win. Trust me, I want to win. That's why I track my units and I share them all with you guys. But I'm not mad about our reads that are coming down to these razor-thin margins. That's why we talk about these numbers. That's why this stuff's so important. Because come tournament time, we're building a really good resume, portfolio, whatever you want to say. We're starting to understand how a lot of these teams look and how they play, and that's going to be super key come tournament time when we get non-conference games again, and we got to decide who's going to win in win or go home situations. So Wednesday, 1-4, minus 1.6 units. 2024, I'm sorry, I probably messed up the numbers a ton on, Tuesday's show. Because I was super tired and my math wasn't working out super well. So we are 25-2 and 35 in 2024 for minus 5.02 units. We're 81, 3, and 79 on the season for minus 0.63 units. As always, I risk 0.5 units on odds plus 100 or better. And then I risk to return 0.5 units on odds minus 101 or shorter. That's because college basketball is super high volume. We have 145 games today. I'm only going to talk about 5 of them right now, but you know, there's a lot more. I'll have some leans at the end as well if you guys like those. Those did fairly well last weekend, so I'll keep up with those. And we're going to jump right into it because we have some good mid-major games that I was able to get lines for early. And this one really sticks out to me. George Washington on the road here, catching 9 at UMass. This one's over on noon at ESPN. There are some great games tipping off at noon, especially in the Big East, but those numbers are super tight. And I think George Washington getting plus 9 here is pretty disrespectful. George Washington makes their free throws, and that's UMass's kryptonite. UMass is one of the worst in the country at how often they put opponents at the free throw line. And George Washington, when they get to the free throw line, they knock them down at a 73.6% clip, which is good enough for 97th in the nation. And they're getting to the line like 38. They're putting up like 38 attempts a game from the line. And that's a ton of points to be letting a road dog come into your building and score from the charity stripe. Again, like I said, UMass puts them there at an even higher clip. So you might even see more free throw attempts than that from George Washington. UMass has played their best basketball at home, and they do have a very tough gym, but they are coming off back-to-back road losses against Rhode Island, who is quietly a very good program, who, you know, makes some noise here and there and will upset a big dog every once in a while. But UMass also lost to Loyola Chicago, who you guys have heard me before in previous videos. I don't have a ton of respect for them in their own building or on the road. So I like George Washington here, especially getting 3 full possessions, because George Washington can knock down the 3 ball. Now, they don't shoot a ton of 3 balls. They're kind of right in the middle of the pack in the country, but they shoot 38.7% from the 3-point arc when they pull up and shoot them, and that's good enough for 15th in the nation. So though they don't have a bunch of high volume, when they take them, they're getting really, really good looks, and they're converting them into points, which is huge. George Washington is battle-tested. They've knocked off VCU on the road. They beat Davidson at home in overtime, and they just beat George Mason at home as 3-point dogs. George Washington continues to impress. I've said it since they had that triple overtime loss by a bucket at home to Fordham. They really took that adversity and they built off of it, and they've gone on the road and they've gotten big wins against teams that a lot of people would have called better than them. I know I was one that was saying that VCU was better than them. I thought Davidson, it was in their building. That was a really tough game as well. And then beating George Mason at home as 3-point dogs. I do have a lot of respect for Mason, even though they haven't been hitting their deep ball very well recently. I just think this George Washington squad is really good. I'm not sure that they pull out the outright W here. This is a lot of points. So give me the plus 9. But I wouldn't be surprised. I think that George Washington has their eyes set on the top of this conference. I think they know that it's going to have to go through Richmond to get it done. And you get a big road win here, and that's gonna make you feel comfortable come tournament time and trying to get into the big dance. So give me George Washington plus the 9. Staying in the same conference, we're taking Richmond on the road again, plus 1.5. I even like the money line here, but we haven't had the greatest luck with road dogs on the money line. I don't hate it. Minus 105, I think, is a pretty decent price. I think if you wait around until more places come to market, you'll get a little bit better of a number there. But I'm not sure. This could easily walk the other way. I've seen some -1.5s out there on Richmond, some -115, -120s on the money line. So there's not a lot of handle on the market yet. So the market hasn't settled. I'll be interested to see what it does. But I love getting Richmond on the road here. This one is at Davidson. It's going down at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. And we've been cleaning up on Richmond. They've had outright W's on the road at Loyola Chicago and Duquesne. We took them in both of those games with the points. I'm going right back to the points here. I also like them on the money line, just like I have when they played Loyola Chicago and Duquesne, because Richmond's got that smothering defense, and they know how to make it incredibly difficult to score. They know how to get you out of your comfort zone. They know how to move you off your spots. They know how to make you eat up a lot more of the shot clock than you want to do. And they really force you to play their game, which is a little bit slower paced basketball and possession orientated, because they want to stop you from getting buckets, and they are pretty efficient when they go down the floor and score. Their biggest weakness is obviously the glass. It's on the front end and the back end, offense and defense. They just don't rebound super well. When they do, especially on offense, they try and draw a lot of contact. They don't really get it. They don't go to the line a whole ton, but when they do, they tend to make their free throws. But again, they've been down a touch recently because they don't shoot a ton of free throws. Their data set nearly isn't as large, and their fluctuations in shooting percentages from the free throw line has a much bigger impact than they do for other teams across the NCAA. So those numbers do get a little bit skewed, and they happen quickly with their lack of free throw attempts. But I still do like Richmond here. These guys, I mean, look, some of these are home, but like they won at home versus St. Bonaventure, which was 4 games ago, which was kind of the start of St. Bonnie's unraveling a little bit. Bonnie's has been struggling since they couldn't get the job done in Richmond. As if not the favorite, then it was a 50-50 coin flip game. Then Richmond goes on the road and wins in Loyola as 4-point dogs, which we backed them on. And then they win at home versus Mason as dogs. And then they win at Duquesne again, where we backed them. So I'm not getting off a team that's cashed us 3 games in a row. I love how they're playing basketball, and yeah, they're sweaty. Every game's sweaty. It's really tight. That's the fun of it for me anyway. I like betting really tight, good competitive college basketball games. So give me Richmond plus the 1.5. Let's go Spiders. Next up, we have a couple of teams that, again, I've talked a pretty good amount about. Georgia is playing University of Kentucky at 6 p.m. on the SEC network. The Bulldogs catching 11.5, coming off of a big upset win. And Georgia has been knocking down their free throws lately. It's been really nice to see, because they get to the free throw line like 15th in the nation. They're the number 15 team in the country at getting to the free throw line. And Georgia, like I said, they've been getting better from the charity stripe every week, and they're now in the middle of the pack of the NCAA after being in the bottom 20% to start the season. That's huge. That means they're even shooting free throws slightly over that middle of the pack number. So I like the Bulldogs here. I think this is a massive number for a conference game. Yes, I know how hard it is to go play in Kentucky's building. Yes, I know that they just absolutely dragged somebody in their own building, and they probably were a little bit tired of playing all those tough competitive road games. But Georgia's got a lot of fight in them, and they've been hitting the 3-ball, and the 3-ball has been Kentucky's biggest weakness. If you remember back to the A&M game, A&M got incredibly hot from the 3-ball, and that's what ended up kind of killing Kentucky, besides, the last 30 seconds where somebody dribbles off their foot and sells away the game. Kentucky also struggled with the 3-ball against Florida, who's not even that great of a 3-ball shooting team. So I like the Bulldogs here. because they shoot 35.2% from deep, and they guard the perimeter really, really well. It's going to be hard for Kentucky to get up their own three balls and answer. So I think that getting over a double-digit spread here is really nice. And Georgia's D is good at all three levels. They will pick your pocket too. They really like to get hands in the passing lane. They can test every ball. They get a lot of stops. They get blocks at the rim. They're tough. They're gritty. They hustle on every play. They're a fun team to watch. Both of these teams, as we've talked about, play at an incredibly fast pace, pedal to the metal. We're going to see a ton of possessions here. The total is relatively high on the over-under. So, again, I just think this is too many points. I don't necessarily think Georgia is going to win outright on the road here in Kentucky. But I have this projecting a lot closer to like an 8-point game than I do a 12-point game. So give me the big number. Give me the Bulldogs on the road to go put in a really respectable showing in Kentucky. Let's keep it moving to one that's going to be tough. This one's just going to be tough because it could be 90-90. It could be 53-53. Both of these guys live and die by the three-pointer. BYU is on the road again, taking on Texas Tech. Texas Tech has a really tough barn to play in. It's at 6 p.m. Over on ESPN. Look, they both live and die by the three ball. It's going to be a tough game. We're going to see a ton of points. There's a lot of volume here. They're going to keep shooting no matter what. That's what these guys do. They jack up shots. They have a lot of shots and possessions. Even though TTU does kind of like to slow the ball down and play with the brakes on, they put up a high volume of shots. And both of these teams are ice cold at the free throw line. They're both in the top 25 in the country and knocking down their free throws. BYU gets to the line a little bit more than Texas Tech does. Again, it's in Texas Tech building. You got to watch for a little bit of home officiating there, so they might get a little extra love on those calls. And it's just a very tough barn to play in. The student section is going to be rocking. You might see some mental mistakes here from BYU. I hope not. I think they've gone through a little bit of adversity and they know how to overcome it. But this game's going to be won and lost on the glass. Whoever comes down with more rebounds is probably going to win this game. The nice thing here, and the reason I'm back in BYU is, one, I have them projected to win outright by about 4 or 5. So if I have them projected to win outright by 4 or 5 and I'm catching 2.5 points on the road, listen, I respect the hell out of TTU, but there's no way playing in your own barn's almost worth 6.5, 7 points. Like, that is just a lot of points. And look, BYU, they can make other shots. They do get to the paint when they do rebound. And the thing with BYU is they are incredibly good at getting you to contact them when they have the ball in the paint and they're going up for an inside shot. They live at the free throw line. And I just think that kind of play and that kind of experience and what I saw from them in their own gym last game, again, after, a tough road loss, but I don't know. I like Brigham Young here. I think getting 2.5 plus, where I have them projected, I gotta play the numbers here. So give me BYU and the points. Last but not least, I had to come back to it. It's a Big East rivalry showdown. We got Yukon heading to Nova at 8 p.m. on FS1, and the Huskies are only -2. I haven't seen a single-digit Huskies spread in a minute, so I love this number. And it's a rivalry game, so it's going to be tough. Nova do not want to lose this game. They're just not playing that great of basketball right now. Nova, they get on the bad end of runs. They can make runs. They can rattle off 12 unanswered, but their defense gives up 12, 14, 16, 18 unanswered frequently, 14-2, 16-8. Like, Nova is just really, really streaky. And if they're not sinking their shots, they're kind of giving up runs on defense, and that kind of plays strongly into what Yukon likes to do. They like to control the rock, possess the ball, and then optimize their possessions. They are really efficient when they score, and Nova, they're having a really tough time scoring from the field, and what they do the best out of any team in the country over the last 3 years is they get to the stripe and they knock down free throws. So UConn's going to have to be really, really tight on their defense. They're going to have to defend vertically. They're going to want to limit Nova's free throw attempts because Nova will absolutely decimate you from the free throw line. They knocked out teams like Texas Tech, like Houston from the tournament as underdogs, doing exactly that, limiting your 3-point balls and forcing you to put them at the line, and that's where they handle their business. So this game is going to be won and lost in the paint. It's going to have to do with UConn needing to defend vertically. Also, UConn's very good at hitting their free throws too, so Nova's really going to not want to put UConn at the line. UConn is really deep, and they're not afraid to rotate players, whereas Nova isn't as deep, and they only use 2 or 3 guys off the bench. Nova, I said Nova's elite at the stripe, but UConn, they got Donovan Klingman back, who is a really important player. He played his first game back. He played 16 minutes. He had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. This kid's a stud. As he works his way back to full fitness and takes more minutes and this rotation gets deeper, this UConn team only gets more and more dangerous. They should be one of the favorites to win the tournament. They should be one of the favorites to win the Big East. They are going to be a very tough out. And Tristan Newton is he's definitely in the player of the year conversation. He's one of the top 10 players in college basketball right now. He's a senior transfer from East Carolina, and he can just flat out hoop. So give me the Huskies, who are playing the better basketball and playing the more consistent basketball, minus the 2. You can get the money line at minus 130 if you don't want to worry about the points. That's never a bad idea, and it's good not to it's fine. If you're fine with drinking the juice, I don't think minus 130 is even that much juice. So, I think the minus 2 is fine here. Minus 2.5 is okay too. I get a little hesitant at the 3.5 number just because of how much of a rivalry this game is. And we will wrap it up with a little recap here. We're taking George Washington plus the 9 at UMass. We're taking Richmond plus the 1.5 at Davidson. We're taking BYU plus 2.5 at Texas Tech. I do think that they can win on the money line, but again, that is going to be a lot of 3-pointers. So it's going to be a volatile game. Georgia, we're taking all the points on the road dogs here. I do like Kentucky. I do know how tough it is to play in their building. But again, I just think this is too many points, and this is a Georgia team that's playing really, really well right now. UConn Huskies, give us them either on the money line or the minus 2 at Nova. And then real quick, before we get out of here, I will run through a couple of leans because, like I said, there's great games, especially early. Creighton at Seton Hall. Give me Seton Hall plus 2. I like them on the money line for sure. It's a very tough building. They took down UConn in their building, and it's a total coin flip game. I like the home dogs barking here. Same thing going with Marquette at Johns. Marquette struggles on the road, and this is a 50-50 game in the Big East. It's a coin flip. Give me the home dogs barking and Johns, who are coming off 2 tough road losses. Iowa State at TCU. I like TCU a lot. I think they handle their business after a really tough road loss where a missed free throw would have gotten them the game with 3 seconds left, and I was on the wrong end of it. I'm still pretty pissed about that. But TCU bounced back at home here. I like them on the money line. I would really like this at minus 3. I would pay minus 120 to get minus 3. I don't love minus 3.5 just because I hate a hook like that. So Horned Frogs on the money line, great parlay piece. And if the market shifts and you can get this at minus 3, I would pay up to minus 120 to do it. If you can get minus 2.5, even better. I think they cover that. Delaware is going on the road to play Drexel. There's no lines up for this last I checked before I recorded. If I can get Drexel at like -4 is a home favorite, anything up to like -5.5, I'm going to take them. And that's kind of where I have it projecting at. I just think Delaware is going to struggle on the road here. Drexel's playing too good a ball. Same thing with Troy on the road at Southern Miss. There's no lines, but Troy is an absolute cover wagon. If I can get them -3-ish, I love that play. Clemson on the road at Florida State. I like them on the money line at -125. Listen, I've been on the wrong end of Florida State a couple of times, but I watched this team play a lot of basketball, and they suck. I can assure you that the in-state rivalry boost they got for that Miami game isn't indicative of who this team is. Clemson is the better basketball team. And if you don't believe me, then don't bet with me, because I will die on this hill that Florida State is trash. Wazoo on the money line at Cal. Wazoo just had a very impressive outright win last night. I think they do it again. Cal is kind of ass cheeks. So give me Wazoo on the money line. You got to pay -125 to do it, but I'm not going to lay any points. I think that's a fair number with the juice. Green Bay at Northern Kentucky. This is a top of the Horizon League. Green Bay is playing absolutely phenomenal basketball right now. They're probably the hottest team in the Horizon League. So give me Green Bay. They should be the road dog here. I would take the points, but I could see them winning on the money line against Northern Kentucky. Last one for you guys before I get the hell out of here is I like Stanford on the money line at home versus Washington. Washington can't put a 40-minute game together. I was high on them early in the season. They played a tough schedule. I thought they were just, a little bit tired, a little bit banged up. Yes, it's always difficult travel when you're talking about a Washington team, but they just flat out suck. So Stanford's not much better. Like, don't get it twisted. I don't think Stanford's good. I just think for the price, Stanford on the money line in their own building should beat Washington. So that's all I have for you this evening, afternoon, Saturday morning, whenever the hell you're watching this. I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, if you have a game that you want me to talk about that I didn't cover, be sure to drop it in the comments section. I will come back around. I will take a look at those, and I will answer you. Other than that, please do me a solid. I do 2 soccer shows a week. I do 2 Foot Talk and a show for BetUS. I cover La Liga for BetUS Thursdays at 3 p.m. I do 2 Foot Talk with my boy Leg Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. I cover all European soccer, Brazilian Serie A. MLS is coming back here soon. But yeah, I cover a lot of soccer. If you couldn't tell by the Madrid flag behind me, the Kappa Napoli track jacket, or, all the soccer tips I was leaving when I would do NBA stuff with Josh. But I would appreciate it if you guys wanted to check those out. Saturday, Sunday are both huge soccer days. If you follow me on Twitter, which is also below, I put out a lean sheet every weekend. I will be sure to get Josh the college basketball lean sheet as well so that he can put that up on YouTube. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys and everybody who comments on Twitter or under the videos. I know Cup of Joe's out there watching. I know Classic Watch Nuts out there watching. I know the guys from Discord. I know my Pops is watching. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys. That's Talking Hoops with Oaks. Let's make some money. I'm getting out of here. Peace.